achieve success with Global.Media.com. Every step forward is a new beat to your drum. Achieve success with Global.Media.com. Then celebrate it with or without champagne.
Welcome everyone. Yes, welcome. I'm glad to finally get started. Oh, trust me, what I'm looking for, I haven't really found. But I'll find it, I'm sure. I'll just tell you what I know, right? Welcome. If you're here, please, as always, welcome to the What If Room. Drop us a comment, say something, say where you're joining us from. If you got any questions, any thoughts on the topic, then definitely do tell us in the comments. Of course, you're welcome to come on the studio. We do have the link on the events page. If that works for you, excellent. That doesn't work for you, my friends, and just put a comment here and send the link. I'll send you the link. So that would tend to work. No, that's it. I'm happy to have my friends in the studio as well. Saves me doing it myself. Saves me waffling at you for an hour and a half, all on my Jim Jams, my Jack Jones, right? It's fine. The British way, that's what Michael will call me for speaking like that. So what else do I want to say? I guess I'll give you a context for the room. This room is essentially the place where we don't ask what if. We contemplate what if you do what you want to do. See, human nature gives us this strange limitations and ability that we don't want to think negatively. What if I fail? What if it goes wrong? What if? But it's always in the wrong way. I say, Lolette and I set up this room based on the premise that it can go right. You can achieve your bold idea. Now, what if you did achieve your bold idea, my friends? What if you actually did what you want to do? What if you actually succeed? What if you change your life? I guess, we can and we ought to believe that we can and we will. So in this room, we'll talk about topics to help you to create solutions that people need, create solutions that really help the world, solutions that will, when people see it, when people take up your idea, it could change humanity. And it doesn't have to be flying a space rocket to the moon, for sure. Think of the things around you. I would say look around you. Everything in front of you, behind you, beside you, even the chair you're sitting on was someone's imagination one day. That was their bold idea. And then they've gone ahead and they have made it a reality. And many of those people have transformed their lives. They transformed our lives. So whether it's, I said, the lamp in front of you, business cards, watch, phone, wallet, and my new best thing ever. Hello, Dr. Lisa. How you doing? Glad you're here. So I'm looking at my best new possession ever, and they're like, "What is it talking about?" All right, these. I've got glasses, Paulette. I better not wear them. Okay, I wear them. They're only for reading. Right, look at that.
I was going to say, is it to make you feel intelligent?
No, it's for reading.
I have to take mine off to read.
Yes, I know what you mean. That's a complication, right?
So up until about 45, I used to wear contact lenses. Then at 45 to 55, it was varifocals. And now I don't need them for reading. I have to take them off. And I spend half my life, and if I put them up in my hair, they get greasy on them. So I just now I'm
You
on,
can't
off,
see it
on, off.
anyway.
And guess what? It started happening with Charles. I saw him the other day taking his glasses off to read. Oh, he's reached that age.
It happens to everyone. That's what I realized, right? So the problem I had is that I didn't want to get glasses at all because I think it makes your eyesight worse in the long run. But that's just me being dumb. But I can't see small print. I just can't see small print. Tiny things. I don't know why they're printing so damn small. It's so annoying. Anyway, so I found these glasses.
Intentionally.
I found these glasses, right? Basically, you adjust the lenses yourself. So as bad as your eyesight gets for I've got one glass. These glasses for just for everything if I wanted them, but they're only for reading because I can see across. I can see to the end of my street. Amazingly, right? So I don't even use them. I might use them once every 2 weeks if I'm really unlucky. But I'm saying for about 10 seconds, just to see that little thing, and then they go back in the case and never to use them again. But, I got glasses. Anyway, those were someone's invention. Someone who thought, we can get glasses that you can use for the rest of your life. That's a bold idea, right? That's a really bold idea. I love the idea. I love the solution. And it's a solution. That's the point about bold ideas. It's something that people need, and that people actually will use that could change their lives. No more any holding things and going, what's that? I can't see. No matter how far you hold it away from yourself, it's still a problem, right? So you can bring very close, you still can't see it. Anyway, that's what this room is based on, my friends. No, but I'm here to have a laugh, really, and share some of the things I've learned, some of the things I'm learning. So I think this entrepreneur thing is a constant process. This achieving your bold idea, leading men and women, is a life journey. It's not just a one-time thing. Michelle, welcome. Glad you're here. Glad you come back. So of course, I would love all your ideas, all of you. Let's make this a conversation rather than me having a monologue with everyone. I've got a video to show you halfway through. Maybe not quite halfway, but somewhere I'll show you a video. I think it explains my thinking on the topic. Right. So let me introduce the topic, and then I'd love to know what you think, my friends. See, the topic.
Let's hear it, Annie.
The topic is what does it take to have a visionary mindset? Let me do a quick search. Let me see how many mindsets are there. I'm sure there are quite a few because I know there's a growth mindset, there's a profit mindset. I'm sure there's a compassionate mindset, Paulette. I'm sure there is. And of course, it's
7.
7. Oh damn! That's more than I thought. Do you know what they are, Paulette? I'm sure Google will tell me. How many different types of mindsets are there? There are 7. I suppose let's say Google's saying there are 2 main models. There's the growth and the fixed mindset. And then someone else says there are 8 mindsets, and then there's 7. Oh, okay. Caring mindset, abundance mindset, well-being mindset, productive mindset, interconnectedness mindset, collective mindset, and a reflection mindset. Interesting.
They're the ones that I was taught.
Yes, I mean, so I guess the point is there are many different types of mindset, my friends. Even though we all tend to talk about positive mindset as if that's the only one. So that there are many. I think we need to learn about these different types of mindsets that we can. Because they're all skills. We're not born with these ways of thinking. So that's why I have the conversations with you. When I learn something new and interesting, I definitely bring it here, especially if it can help all of us, right? This mindset thing is one of those I think can really help us. I tried to make notes. I didn't quite get around to it because of Paulette's room. I know what argument I want to have. I know what conversation I want to have, right? Okay, so I guess to start, to give you a picture. See, my last job, my I was effectively headhunted by the owner. Her name was Ann Davis. So it was a children's charity, and she wanted to provide a service that listens to children, advocacy, basically, give kids a voice. And her thing was bereavement, grief support. Because we can't hear you, Paul. It's good. You carry on whispering. It's all right. You talk. You're on silent, so it's all right. Anyway, so her thing was grief support. She wanted kids in the UK to have bereavement support if their friend died at school, if their school friend died, if their parent died. And see, to us, it makes perfect sense. That sort of service is necessary, right? Except in most countries, grief support is not statutory. It's not a legal requirement. So Anne was determined to make grief support a thing in the UK, a thing that every kid got, especially if they needed it. Now, the more I got to know her, so I was there for 15 years, and I joined as staff number 4, I think. So I was quite young. I think I was 22, 23, thereabouts. And suddenly I was a manager of the service, with this important role, the way I saw it, right? Now if you look to Anne, you would say she's not the most, what's the word I'm looking for? She's not the best implementer of ideas. But hell, she comes up with ideas every day, right? So we were always like, how does she do it? No, that's our topic today, really. How do you have someone who has a vision and the ability to turn that into a reality? Which I say, part of this is exploring what is the thing that these visionary people do. How do they think? What do they see? I think you'd be amazed when you truly when you see who they are and what goes through people's brains. See, no, we need to be visionary because we need to do the things a visionary does. Because all visionaries tend to behave the same way. They build the company the same way. So then I've started with Ann Davis. I'm saying, the same characteristics apply to whoever you think of. Bill Gates. It applies to the Elon Musk of this world. It applies to the Paulettes of this world. You'd be surprised. I know it does. Paulette may not. I'm sure she knows that it applies to her, really. So let's unpick what this visionary mindset looks like, and then how we can develop it. Maybe you think we shouldn't develop it. Maybe you think I'm talking rubbish. So again, I'll take it. Now let me know what you think. Who wants to speak first? Someone's unmuted.
I've got to say thank you for stopping it right there on that picture. That's a good picture of me because it was just, I couldn't catch up with you guys. I'm going to honestly tell you how I do it. And it's the simplest thing in the world because we all do it. If you think of it like this, dream, plan, reality. So you always dream up an idea, right? And whenever you're dreaming, you're always adding to that dream. So that's your planning. And then after you're done planning it, it turns into reality, exactly how I just got right here. And so my motto's always been, and I apologize. And my motto's always been, and it's even hanging in my kitchen because the kitchen's where everyone always gathers. And it just says dream, plan, and reality. And everyone knows what that means because everyone thinks it's so hard to actually do something. But if you honestly look in your mind, you've been doing it since the day you were born. And you just got to remember. And I also think that's why actually that I watch a lot of Disney is because it brings me back to, oh yeah, that age. I remember I thought of that one thing, and then I can start all over again with that one thing I thought of when I was a little kid, maybe. And I can start dreaming and planning it and making it a reality like I'm doing right now. And so that's how I do it. It's not magical. It's putting your mindset where you want to be. And I tell a lot of people, if you really want to get to know yourself and just appreciate everything around you, go blind and deaf. Just put cotton in your ears, and you can do it. And always put cotton in your ears when you're at home. Please don't do it at work or while you're driving or anything. But seriously, it took me probably a week before I started liking myself when I went blind and deaf. But then I started learning about myself. And then when I started learning about myself, I started learning about what I wanted to do in life. So go blind and deaf and start a garden so you can regrow. And it works. It works for me. Maybe it won't work for you, but you've got to try everything instead of just giving up. I always say, if you fall off the wagon, it's just not for AA and NA. If you fall off the wagon, fix your wheel on your wagon and jump back in. It's your wagon. It's no one else's wagon. And just, it's okay to fall off your wagon and have to fix it and get back in. And that's just kind of how I look at life. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Michelle. A great way to start the conversation. I see Paulette is itching to say something, I think. Selena, welcome. Of course, we see you, so I'm glad you're on stage. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on our topic. So we're talking about this visionary mindset. What is it? How do we build it? Should we build it? And then how do we use it? Paulette, I'll let you speak. Please share with us.
So for me, it's very simple. There's a box. Okay. Some people are inside the box and some people are outside the box. Okay. So some people live in that box. They're very happy in that box. They never ever think about what's going on outside the box. They just live within that particular box. And that box can be their house, their business, their work, their job, their family, whatever. It's the box, right? I've never lived in a box. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. But I have never lived in the box. When people used to say to me about why is it you can come up with all these ideas, I used to say the only reason I come up with all these ideas is because I'm not thinking outside the box. I live outside the box. Okay. So I would turn up at a business and they would tell me their problem. And it could be a multi-million-pound problem. It could be a £100 million problem. It could be £1 million problem. It depended on how long they'd taken me for. But I used to walk in and I used to sit there as the problem director. And I had to look at their whole business and decide, are we shutting it down? Are we going to come up with a solution? Are we going to try and come up with a plan to fix it? Is there any way we can do something different? Right? And I think I've said this to you before, Annie, and people would be sitting there scratching their heads going, they're so close to the problem. This is what I'm trying to say. It's when you're very close to the problem, right? You can't always see anything outside of it, right? So a stranger comes in who's not been part of the problem and hasn't grown with the problem and hasn't developed with the problem, you see it in a completely different light. So I don't think it's just about how you feel and your positivity and all those mindset things. I actually think it's about where you sit in terms of how you look at subject matter, right? So I believe it's not about the positivity, the negativity, the this mindset, the growth mindset, the abundance mindset, all these things. I think it's about if you're really that close to the problem, it's really hard to see a solution. But you bring somebody in from the outside and they go, oh, you need to do this or you need to do that. And they're like, how do you know? And I've been sat here with this problem for X period of time. So I think sometimes it's new eyes see it differently, and not new broom sweeps clean, but just new eyes see things slightly differently. So in the same way that Michelle talks about blindness and being deaf, and therefore you have to see the world differently, suddenly her box was very different, right? She was completely outside the box, not in the box. And I'm saying that I think that that's how we should try and live a little bit outside the box, because if we do that, we'll have far more openness to change, far more willingness to try things, far less risk of making mistakes. We won't care. We'll just try it. We'll be a little bit more flippant, a little bit more whimsical, but we will try things because it's not scary, right? When you're in the box, everything outside the box is scary. When you live outside the box, it's a different world. Does that make any sense?
Yeah,
It makes perfect sense.
it
That
does.
makes a lot of
I
sense.
agree. I agree. Jay, I'm with you. This boxes mentality. It's we don't live in any. We can't live in any box really. We need to live way outside the box. As Paulette's saying. Jay says, "I rebuilt the box with a swinging door." So that's no. You're never locked in. I don't have a box at all. I don't think. I try not to.
I don't think I've ever had a box either, or I probably wouldn't be alive right now. I've always thought outside the box.
So maybe the box is other people's boxes. Is their mental representation of us, so which is not our problem. It's not our thing. Leave it with them.
Or maybe it's a mental box.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because that one is very difficult to come out. You just need the Paulet of these days to help you come out.
I agree with you. Look, so between Paulette and Michelle, and there's big components of our visionary mindset that we can take away. I think having Michelle's dream, be the dreamer. So someone's got to do the dreaming. I know Paulette says sometimes you can be too close. So I think the first thing I'll say about the visionary leader is that they find a way to be the custodians of the problem that we're here to solve. The video I'm going to show you will explain, what I'm trying to explain clumsily, but I want to do it clumsily. You hear everyone talks about your why. What's your why? What's your why? I think the visionary leader is the one who almost creates and understands that why. So if we go back to the example I gave you, Anne Davis, right? She spent 25 years building Jigsaw for you. So by the time when I got there, I was employee number 4. By the time I left, I think we were at 30 something. I was at 32, 33, and I couldn't afford to pay all of them. That's why I left. So it's not really my thing. I'm saying, but she was driven by the cause. She was passionate about this bereavement service that she wanted across the country. She had kids coming to her from different local authorities across London. To her charity when she first started, some would sleep under the table rather than go home. I'm saying for kids in social care, Paula, that's very odd, right? But these kids were so disturbed, so hurt, so damaged by the loss. They would rather feel comfortable spending time with her who understands than go home. I'm saying as a leader, that's how you understand the problem with such a drive, such clarity. Almost like it hurts you more than it hurts the clients. That's the sort of level of understanding of the issue, of the why. It's you really have to buy into it in a way that no one else can almost imagine. That's why you're the leader. That's why you're the one to make it happen. That's why you're the one to dream up the solution. That's what visionary leaders do. They have a very clear picture. I think someone said it earlier in your Rumpelet. I think it was Luz that said you have to almost see the end. You have to see the end that we're trying to achieve. You have to know the why, not just know it. You have to genuinely get it and feel it. Because part of your task, there's two Michelles on my screen. Don't know why. Michelle, why is it two of you, Michelle?
It just kicked me off and then brought me right back up. I don't know. Hey, you guys,
Sorry,
I'll be
I had
right
to
back.
laugh. Sorry, I
I'm
had
going
to
to get off all of it, and then I'm going to come back into the studio. I'll be
No,
right
it's fine. You're fine now. You're still there, right? Anyway, and if you need to restart, feel free. I think having that dream, it's more than a dream. I think that's Michelle's point. It's more than a dream. It's having a vision and also having the wherewithal to make it happen.
It's more than a vision. Sometimes you just feel there's nothing else you can do besides that. You're just pushed and led to say, this is what I'm here for. It's like I was talking to somebody and then they said to me, maybe your niche is not really good enough. And I thought, I just love, helping empty nesters. So if somebody says maybe it's not good enough, I don't understand because that's my passion. As this weekend, just for example, my son they were going to have, it was last weekend. My kids were having their own barbecue with their brothers and sisters, excluding me and excluding the mothers of their wives. So I think one of the mothers-in-law asked us, "Oh, why are you leaving us?" And then the daughter says, "Oh no, it's not for you, this guy." So when I rang him, I just wanted to say, "Oh, enjoy your weekend." Then he says, "Oh, we are going to have this and this." And I said, "Oh," jokingly, "Oh, you left us out thinking we are too old for you." Then I said, "No, you know what? I'm so happy you did that because it makes me live what I preach. Because I believe that if you don't get on doing your own stuff, you'll never get rid of me. Because I will always feel like it's your responsibility. I'm your mother. I have to be there." But no, you have to leave. I have to learn to let go. And so I said, "Well done, guys. This is so good." I know it's like, okay, it gives me a bad feeling, but I'm happy. Thank you.
It is. It's part of the journey of life. No, but I said I agree with you. It is that sense of mission, that sense of purpose, that it consumes you, right?
It does.
So I think when you have that, with this is you. You must do it. You are the one to do it. Then it
Driven
gives you a different
to
way
do
of
it,
seeing the
Ellie.
whole thing. Go on.
I think
Sorry
it's
about that.
drive. I said,
Yes.
I think you're driven to it.
Mm, No, for sure.
I
It's
see in my mind, like cheering people on the stage, talking about it, excited, not just, being, like a speaker, but really excited and, like saying, "Come on, girls, let's have fun. I want 5, women who can come and dance here on the stage to show your freedom." And it's because sometimes we don't want to do it because we're so docile. We think, "Oh, people are going to judge me if I don't." So it's like,
mm.
no, nobody cares. Let's be kids again. Kids are
Yeah,
gone.
it's true. I say that's what I'm trying to explain. Selena, is that feeling
Yeah.
It's your whole life. And I can't explain how say Anne Davis made us feel. And literally, this was her thing. She didn't. She could not do it. She spent all of her money to make this charity. She spent all her time. She spent many years. At least by the time we got there, she at least 10 years in campaigning for this service. And she just barely got started by the time we say, this our staff actually started getting involved. But there is that whole, you see so clearly, you feel the client's pain, and then you're forced to come up with solutions that will really work. I think, look, in business, many of us, we'll talk about why these days. Like, what's your why? What's your why? What's your why? And then, but the other parts of the why, of course, has to be the how and the what, right? Visionary leaders are the ones who set the tone for all of this. There's no point having a great vision if no one's going to implement it, right? So Anne, knowing that she wasn't a great, she was a good implementer. Don't get me wrong, but by the time your baby starts growing legs, grief support became disability charity, kids in care charity, young runaways, sexually exploited kids. I could carry there was like about 25 services. In the end, we had services, homeschool links. One person couldn't do all these things, right? They just couldn't. So she looked like she wasn't on top of it. But what she did was create teams to achieve her mission, to deliver. And I was there as a lead for kids in care because she came to handpick me from a company and I need you. I'm like, okay, I'll pay you good money, good money. I need you to come and because I need. She knew what she wanted, which is people who had experience of the service of the issue. That way, we would resonate with the clients. Say the younger. My phone's listening to me and talking to me at the same time. How very annoying, right? But anyway, I became the one that did the advocacy for kids in care because she knew I would. It's not she knew. I guess she worked out somehow that experienced people on the issue have an affinity with the clients, and they'll go the extra mile. So literally, she handpicked all the staff. Now you might say, why not open it to everyone? Why not be equal opportunity employer? But now she knew what she wanted. As a visionary leader yourself, you're gonna have to learn how to build a team you want. Sometimes people's skills is important. Other times, you have to try other ways. You have to find other ways to get to what the clients need. This is. I'm trying to position this in two ways, my friends. Your visionary leader has one primary purpose. It is to innovate, to create the solution your clients need. That's what visionary leaders do. Many people just do that. Like Anne just did that most of the time. But in reality, for us, we're going to have also the rest of it, the plan that Michelle talked about, the problem solving that Paulette talked about. It has to come together. Otherwise, we're just thinking beautifully but delivering nothing.
True.
The visionary leader must take the idea from innovation to implementation, and all that in between all that. Think what that really means. They have to learn how to employ people, how to manage people, how to pay people, and how to raise money, and blah 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 blah. Build relationships. I could carry on. They have to learn everything. But the primary role, which I would pay them for, just doing this bit, is having the vision, having the clarity of where we're going, clarity of purpose.
Most people can't do that, Annie. You're mistaken.
But they have to.
No. Most people are the innovators, the ideas people, right? Aren't the doers. All right. The ideas people and the innovators, is to use your word, okay? The innovators, the inventors, the whatevers, they are very rarely the doers,
Yes.
right? They need to bring that extra layer in of doing so that
Yes.
they can continue on the trajectory of what happens next, whilst the
Yes.
people down here are catching up with them. And what
Yes.
I've found in my lifetime is that the majority of the people who really have the best ideas need to surround themselves with good people, because
Yes.
you can't do it on your own.
I agree. I agree 100%. You know, it's how you build that team is often unusual. Is what I'm trying to say. I'm saying it's not. You know, these visionaries don't follow the norm. They don't follow the usual paths that we might think of. The status quo is not their thing. They creating solutions, finding a way that they're gonna get what they want done. Done is the way. That's the art. No, whatever's gonna satisfy the customer is what they're after. Whatever that looks like, they will do it. They implement it. You know, of course, at best of times, we want people to take us along the. You know, as a leader, you have to take people along the journey. No point building a team of people who are not really into it. They're a bit wishy-washy, sometime-ish. That will get you nowhere, apart from bankrupt. You know, you need people who are bought in. They're genuinely, you know, they're as pissed as you are about the issue. You know, they have to understand the issue from your perspective somehow to really understand this is not a game. You know, if you know, again, let me use Ann Davis as a perfect example. See, one of the reasons I left is that my funders, the local authority, could not stand what we used to do, which is go above and beyond.
Hi, Naomi.
You know, yeah, okay, so no, so let's you know we had a couple of boys from Kosovo at the time. There was a time when the Kosovans, you know, Yugoslavs were coming to UK in numbers, kids especially. Now, you know, so I remember, you know, it was one of them. I was his advocate. You know, we worked for years. You know, he got his what he needed until one day he went to, you know, a trampoline park. Lo and behold, jump, somersault, and fell on his neck, paralyzed from neck down.
Oh
So,
wow.
I'm in Purley. You know, I think of Croydon. He's in Stoke Mandeville. You know what that is? That's the most country to me. But I had to go and see him, and you know, and provide a service to him. Well, of course, part of that is taking him food, taking him things that he couldn't have otherwise. And then two other Kosovars came along. You know, two brothers. You know, so I remember now Christmas. Let me mute you, Selena. So I remember now there was a Christmas where these two boys were saying, you know, we just managed to put them into a B&B rather than being homeless for Christmas. And the council thought, that's it, job done. No, we couldn't have. No, my wife cooked the turkey. I took it on Christmas Day. I'm saying these are the extras. You know, I said it's one of my final straws. A young lady got moved into a bed seat, and I'm like, okay, there's something called essential items, Paulette, that we have to have. All kids have to have, right, to a certain home. You know, fridge, microwave, TV, bed. This girl didn't have a TV. I'm like, no, that is just so intolerable. I bought her a TV, and they're like, oh, you only bought her because it's her. I'm like, no, I'll do it for any other kid too. You know, and you want a refund. I'm like, no, just leave it alone. When they're just not having it, Paulette. They're trying to use your kindness against you, as if that's not a crime against. Oh, that means you're going to groom other kids. I'm like, why even go there? No, but literally anything these kids needed, I will do anything. Which is not in the system.
I'm going to tell you a very, very quick story because Charles isn't here and he won't tell me off. But when we used to go out every Saturday, swear to you, we used to go around all the charity shops, and I used to be like, why are we in here? And he'd be like, right, we're looking for coats, kids' coats, all sizes, boys and girls, kids' coats, decent quality. warm coats, make sure the zips all work, all the rest of it. We would buy probably between 10 and 12 coats a week. Charles would take them, he'd have them under his desk. And when a kid came into school with blue lips, looking freezing cold, he used to say, "Listen, I've got all these coats out of the lost property. See if one of these fits you." And the kids would take the coat, and that would be their coat then, right? This isn't innovation. This is somebody who has lived with me for too long, right? It's what he told me. It's my fault because he's lived with me for too long. I've rounded off his sharp edges, right? So he bought all these coats week in, week out. We must have bought, I bet we bought 100 coats over the weeks, right? He got a letter from the headmaster telling him that if he supplied one more coat to a child, he would have to go up in front of the committee because they believed it was grooming. So there's the head of maths at a senior school of 2,500 kids, and he's trying to keep these children warm who are coming from poorer areas who don't have coats, right? And I mean, we weren't buying, he'd make sure they were named coats or coats that had like a bit of something about them so the kids would want them, you know? And they weren't like £5 each. Sometimes we'd be paying 20 quid a coat. We probably could have gone to Sports Direct and bought new ones for 50 quid, but we were in the charity shop because they had to look worn so that he could say they'd come from lost property. And then he got called up in front of his head, and they said it stops now before it gets too far, where they will see it that you are trying to groom children. And he came home and he said to me, "I will never follow my heart again," because he blamed me because I was making him too soft. Now you tell me where the world's gone crazy.
The world's gone nuts. Let's be sure, right? Let's be sure. You know, nothing. The problem is not us at all, Paula. But you know, you just said the problem I had, pretty much. You know, and I'll never know why. I never know whether it's because other people feel threatened. You know, when I say other people in this context, my friends, think of your competition. Because all we're saying, all Paulette and I are saying here is the visionary leader, the leader with visionary mindset is willing to do what others not willing to do to serve the customers. That's the game.
Exactly.
That's the real game. You know, are you willing to do that? Do you see yourself doing that? Michael, you're always too quiet for my liking. You know I'm going to come to you eventually, right? Michael, I wonder what you think about what we've shared so far. What's your thoughts on the visionary mindset?
So tell me again what you just said.
Okay. The person with a visionary mindset has to be willing. It starts with having the clarity of the issue we're dealing with. We call it our why. Cyrus calls it kindness. So welcome, Cyrus. I do see you, of course. Peter, I'm glad you're here. Daniel, great to have you, of course. Mr. Zoom Party, glad you're here as well. Thank you all for being here. You know, so Cyrus calls it kindness, Michael. I don't, you know, it's not kindness in my eyes. I think is what Selena spoke about, the clarity of purpose. The leader must have clarity of purpose. I keep saying leader because now you're the one that's going to drive the change to your bold idea. Now you're the leader, like it or not, right? So this is on you to have this clarity of mind, clarity of purpose, clarity of mission, of why we're here, what we're trying to do, why we're doing it, right? The visionary leader has that clarity. More than the clarity, Michael, that mindset must involve working out how we're going to implement this solution? Because now we know the problem, we're going to have to create a solution, Michael. Invent something that others haven't invented before, others are not doing. And part of that inventing is creating something that's the one that helps the users, the clients, but also maybe goes against the grain. That's what no, that's what we talked about boxes earlier. So it's something that's truly out there, that's different, so different to what others are doing. It's a creation. That's what makes it your bold idea, Michael. You have to have that innovation in your way of being, in your way of seeing the world. Now you've seen the problem from the cold, hard client side.
I
Right?
apologize, but you explained that better to Michael than you did to me. So, Michael, I'm glad you re-asked that because now I understand his question. You need to explain it better to me like that.
I can just talk on, but literally, I think we need to
Please
understand
do,
that.
Annie. Please talk on.
Listen, I say it takes that level of visionary, and this is not. Maybe the bit I want you to comment on, Michael, is the fact that these visionaries, they're not perfect people. They're just
Well,
humans
no,
like
no
you and
one's
me.
perfect. No
Just
one's perfect.
some leaders trying to have you believe they are. Some people who they're trying to let you make you believe Bill Gates. I mean, look at your Trump. He thinks he's great. He thinks he's everything. So he's a numpty. I'm saying
Isn't that their role, but they actually have a whole unit that works for them.
yes. No. Again, maybe politicians are just and they're just visionaries in a way. They're talkers, not doers. Right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You
Okay.
know.
No.
So which creates another level, another layer of issue, Michael. I hope you can comment on. How does one develop this clarity, this passion, this mission, this purpose? And then how do we get others to buy into it? Maybe if you can speak from your experience of leaders you worked for, that could be helpful, right?
Hmm. Yeah, that certainly could be helpful. But I think the glue that you're looking for is is what you've already indicated. And that word is clarity. Uh, the idea that you need to be able to see into the future what your actions are going to look like and how they're going to impact the person or individuals that you want to impact is necessary. That's why you need that clarity. You need the end goal in mind. And in order to get the end goal in mind, you need to be able to have clear vision. And clear vision comes with clarity. There's a space, even if there's smoke in the way, you're just gonna have to be Superman with extra, with supernatural vision. Burrow through anything that's in your way and see the end of it and say, this is what we need to do in order to get there. Because you can see the hurdles, you can also see how there are pockets here and there where you can get through and lead your team through those pockets of obstruction behind and beyond the obstruction that they confront. That is what a leader does, who has clarity. And I say there's a good example out there in the world, and that's Traore of Burkina Faso. I would never have envisioned what he was about, what he was going to do. I knew he was a good leader. I knew he had purpose. But when his edicts come out indicating, like, for instance, he goes about and he says there's going to be free education for everybody in Burkina Faso, free all the way through into university. No African country that I know of has actually accomplished that, except for probably in Botswana. Botswana also has that as well. But any other African country, I mean, that is the most quintessential thing that parents are fighting about. How am I going to get my kid through that education? It's going to cost this much. And I tell you, we fight and we fight tooth and nail to get our kids into school and college. And it drags us down. Every penny that they spend money, which is coming from outside of Africa, that they don't have, they don't create themselves. No, this has to be brought in from outside Africa because colonials are the ones that control the damn thing. And they fight tooth and nail with against each other just trying to get that money. But it's not about that. But you can see that that is a huge hurdle. Humongous. Now imagine that being lifted off of you. You as a parent, imagine that. You have your children and the government says, hey, you don't have to pay for it. We'll take care of it. Ha! Clarity is the most important part of your conversation, Annie. And if there's more nuggets that you have in that head of yours, bring them out, I'd say.
No,
Bring them out.
they're
Because you
coming from
just,
they're coming from you, my friend. They're coming from you. This is why I love you so all on stage.
well, you made it as clear as, how should I say it? As clear as sunshine on a bright day.
I like that. I know. Look, I
Yeah.
love everything you say, Mark. I think the ability to inspire others to follow that vision you have, I think that's part of the trick. You know. So, the president you mentioned, I mean, in the US, people are destroyed by the healthcare costs. In Africa, it's education costs. I'm saying I get where you're coming from, and clearly, Mr. President understands the issue from the point of view of parents and the citizens. I'm sure he has a great belief that education is the answer, is a way to empower, the masses, the poor, the less
Yes.
well off.
And
You know,
those nuggets that are out there that are not going to school but are actually digging and trying to survive and eat and
yeah,
find food these are the
mm,
brains that are out there. And
mm,
we know that they're there because look at the inventions that are coming out nowadays in Africa.
yeah,
People who are just doing what they can with the minimum. And the inventions are just profound, working for their society, not for anything but solutions for their. My gosh, two people or just one person can just come up with something so brilliant. Vision with clarity. Something that, I mean, it's taken like 400 years to get to this point. Really? Wow. And they just, these people haven't lived for 100 years. They haven't even lived a quarter of their lives, and yet their ideas are so brilliant. Those are the kinds of kids that are coming out these days out of Africa. Exceptional minds. So exceptional that they blow away water. Profoundly exceptional. Anyway, let me not continue talking and interrupting you, Annie. You have the ideas, and you're absolutely in charge
hey,
of this conversation, and you're taking
no,
it where it needs to go.
no,
So
you
please
know,
do. Please continue. I leave the
no,
floor to
thank
you.
you. No, thank you. Look, I am delighted. As Jay said, education is a great equalizer. This does empower fear people with knowledge. No, probably true. No, likely true. I'm sure it's true, Jay.
Yeah,
But
but I've got a
go on, go on,
problem and I can't just sit here
Go on,
You
Paulette.
can
Go on,
educate.
Paulette.
You can educate everybody, but if there aren't the jobs for the people when they leave school, if there aren't the opportunities for the kids when they leave school, then what was the point in them spending all these years in university? We have this problem now, and we're charging the kids 27, 28 grand for the through 3 years
Degree.
now, and they're still getting a degree in geography. The best one that drives me up the absolute was criminology, but you know that they're getting degrees in things that we don't have a need for, we don't have a job for. And so you find that somebody's been at university for 3 years doing a degree in geography, and they're now working for Waitrose, driving around delivering shopping. You know, it's an innovative idea to educate everybody, 100%. But then you have to then have the back end of that, which is what we're going to do with all these educated people once they come out, because we don't want them all getting on a train or a bus or a plane into a different country with their medical degrees and their law degrees and their whatever degrees into other countries, because all you're then doing is giving a mass supply of super intelligent people to the rest of the world. What you have to do is have jobs for those educated people where they are. Sorry, I just had to say that
That's
was annoying
interesting,
me.
Paulette. That is very good. That's a very good point that you brought up, and that is what's actually happening in Africa. We have a lot of educated persons, but no jobs. So the problem was not the end. The problem was at the beginning. We didn't give them purpose. We didn't instruct them to have purpose. We didn't instruct them to have vision. Just like Annie's saying, which is the problem that Annie's trying to tackle here is how do we create visionary people so that right from the start, before they go into education, they know I want to solve this problem because by the time I graduate, it will not have been solved. But if I were to get a little bit of education, I would most likely have solved this problem. They graduate when they write a thesis on that problem, they actually create an industry so that they can go and do their business, employ themselves, as opposed to expecting a job to be out there once they graduate.
No,
We should
I
rethink
agree with you.
education and how we apply it.
Now, Michael, I think I know we are speaking from the same hymn sheet. As Paulette's talking, I tell you one thing. I'm thinking, right? Can we really expect one person to have the vision for everything? No, I don't think we can. I think people have, we're human, right? We have our passions for what we're passionate about. There's things in the boxes that we talked about earlier, right? Little things, we know what we're passionate about. We have an issue which we can deal with, and without education, Africans are going nowhere too quick at all. So the education, it's a start, Paul. It's a start. I agree. There's a gap at the end. Maybe this president's end is the qualification, the learning that they need to do. A job that comes at the end, that's probably someone else's problem to solve in good time, right? We need someone else to have that vision for that part of the equation. In a business, though, you must implement. You can't just have the idea. You have to also work out how to implement it, and not do it by yourself. And say you have to have the plan. Anne's plan was, I'll just go and get people who have been service users of social care. The ones I know I can trust. The ones who are truly independent of the system. The ones who are not needy. The ones who are not, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not caught up in the criminal justice system, the mental health system. There's many other things you need to do to protect kids in the UK. So you have to make sure that they haven't got those issues, and they can help rather than, what's the word I'm looking for? Rather than consume the kids' energies and, rather than the staff take from the kids, the staff has to provide what the kids need. They have to have the wherewithal and all that. So, but I think the thing, Michael, for me, like I said earlier, is the fact that people with visionary mindset have the ability to inspire. Inspire is exactly what you said. People who would jump through hoops, people who would do what it takes, people who, if you pay me, I'll do most things you ask me to do, right? And I always say I'm a whole, and that's who I am. But I do what you ask me to do anyway because we're friends, right? Let's say, don't tell anyone that. Don't tell anyone that. Ignore that bit. If you're watching a recording, ignore that bit as well, right? But when you can truly inspire, people will jump through hoops. They will take on your mission. They'll take on your vision as if it's theirs. Some will be even more zealous than you. They'll be even more driven than you. And that, I say all this because I don't think we're doing this in our companies. I don't think we're doing this in our small businesses. I fail. God knows I try. I learn the lessons and I try and implement them. But I haven't found people who are more passionate about what I do than me. I just haven't found one. I never have. I found some who are willing to work longer hours than me for a bit. I found some who are willing to do more clicks than me, but not for long enough. I'm saying, trying to find people who are mini me's, who are bigger versions of me, is hard. Of you, is hard. It's nearly impossible. So how do we then move other people who have no interest in our topic, who have not a lot to do with what we're talking about? They just live in their life. They just want to work and earn money and go home. How are you going to move those people to become almost your ambassadors? That's a question to all of you. Cyrus, you're a negative, so Paulette. You can. Well, you can. You can't.
You can't train a dog to be a cat. You can't train a dog to be a cat. You can't train a mouse to be a dog. No. Listen to me a minute. When I've employed people, I've employed them for the characteristics that they have, okay? And then I thought I can train them to have the characteristics that they don't have, but I need. But they show such promise in certain areas, I'll overlook the lack in others. But you can't train somebody to be something unless they want to be it. I really believe that people have to come to you with the desire to be whatever you want them to be, right? I want you to be a mini Annie. Well, okay, how do I do that? What do I need to do to be a mini Annie? I will do whatever it takes because I'm so inspired by you and I will follow you as if you are my leader, right? Because that's how much I believe in you. If you get those kinds of people, they're not perfect. They need modeling. They need the rough edges knocked off. They need some training. They need direction. But they're the ones. But you can't train a cat to be a dog. What you can train is a dog that's a bit rough and that's been out in the wild and hasn't necessarily learnt your ways, right? And that's not me being crude or rude or being socially undesirable.
No.
I'm being honest, right?
It's the truth.
I get what you're saying. But I think I think if we believe in we can't inspire them, Paulette, we're buggered. We're basically, we're up the creek, right? We really are. We're
I'm
buggered.
inspired with the idea of there being a mini Annie. Wow.
How many me's? That inspires me something. And when I think about it more, I think that would be a terrible world, right? Imagine two of me, my wife would go crazy. Literally in anger, and not in a good way. Crazy and annoyed. Damn, another one.
No, we want any minions, little minions of Annies.
Not gonna happen.
So cool.
Let's come back a bit. Cyrus and Coach, I'd love to hear from you on this point, right? Paulette, I think we need to find a way, the tools to inspire people, as Michael said, which involves essentially building trust, building loyalty. Yes, I know it's hard. Like, no, that's why I threw my hand up and said straight away, I failed miserably at this. Because people, so what we do is try and show people the what. The what. Here's what we do in this company. Can you just do that, please? I write instruction manuals. I write many manuals myself. And they come and then I have to fire them because they haven't followed the manual. Anyway, I'm saying I fail, but there must be a way. There must be a way. There has to be.
A diamond
Cyrus,
is
go on. Go on,
any
Michelle.
straight up. A diamond is rough and ugly until you actually mold it, right?
Mm,
I mean, honestly, I couldn't sit through a show for how long, and I can now. So it's when you have your vision, if there is someone that has the same vision as you, but it just feels off, help mold them, help
mm.
teach them tools instead of laughing at them and going trying to find someone just like you, because you never will any. You're one in a million. I'd love a minion any though, that would be really cool. But I would totally take it because I have a house gnome that has really upset me ever since Harry Potter came out. um so I need
Mm,
a new any minion maybe. But we're all rough, and that's how every child is born too, is rough until
mm.
you mold them and teach them tools. So if I can do it, anyone else can.
I
It's
agree.
just how you mold a person. You don't mold a person by beating them.
Yeah.
And you mold them by like what you do with me. Hey,
Mm,
superstar, where are you? You know, and but
mm,
that gives me, oh yeah, I have to be over here and I have to do this. And that is molding someone without being mean or rude. And people have forgotten how to use their tools and express and help other people to help mold them. It's like everyone wants to be superior.
mm.
It doesn't
You're
work like
talking about chipping the sharp edges. That's what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Chip, 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 chip,
Yeah,
chip.
no, look, I don't know. I think it's a two-way street, Michelle. It's a two-way street. You need people who are willing to be molded, people who are willing to be changed. People who are willing to learn. People who are coachable. I think it's a good way of
that.
saying it. People who actually do want to follow as well,
And
right?
those are the ones you always got to weed your garden because you're always going to have everything come into your garden. And then the ones that don't want to really be there, weed
Right.
them out and
I,
either
I
replant
agree.
them somewhere else, or I'm not saying throw them away, but I mean, because that's usually what you do with weeds. I'm just saying weed your garden
Mm.
because
I do. I sack them and I fire them too, all too soon. But if you don't understand, if you don't buy into my mission, why would I keep you? It's a problem. It's a genuine problem. It's one that we can tackle. Coach, I saw you flash your mic, so I'm hoping you want to say something on this topic, Coach. Now, how do we inspire? How do we get people? Now, and don't forget, now we've gone through a few steps in what this visionary mindset includes. Have the vision, have the clarity, and then you have to inspire people to deliver that clarity, right? And
Yeah,
build it and manage your team. Go on, Coach. It's all yours.
yeah. It's a very complex, interesting conversation. You need people anyway. You need to grow with people. You can't build what you want to build alone. If you really want to build something very big, by the way, well done. Thank you, everyone. Amazing conversation again. You know, always that you guys are always super amazing, and that's not paying lip service. That's me just saying I'm always very excited about things. I can jump into stuff without saying hi properly. So I'm sorry, forgive me. So it's a very complex conversation. You can't do it alone. I really wish I can do it alone, and that's a practical personal wish. But in this world, you just have to walk through people. If you really want to build a legacy or something really big, you got just walk with people. Uh, what's really going on is that several things are going on with everyone. Some people are not just in a good frame of mind at that time. Some people just have their personal biases at that time. You may just be meeting them at the wrong time of their lives. They may really be good fit for inspiration. Some people are There are two categories of people when it comes to inspiration. Some can be inspired, some cannot be inspired. It has nothing to do with what you do as a leader. They cannot just be inspired. They cannot be inspired. Now, whether they can be inspired temporarily or permanently is something else. I mean, there are people on drugs, permit me, at the risk of falling foul of mental health practitioners like Paulette and Mist. There's a joke in Africa that many are mad, but few are roaming. Once people are really mad, you see them roaming the streets in Africa. But there are people who really should be in the wards, who are well dressed, totally okay in the eye. So be careful of your mental health. Not everybody deserves a lot of attention. Not everybody, people are going through different things. It's not about you. And now social media has made interaction more fluid. So you have many more people with data now everywhere. So going back to the main point, people are at different points in their lives. Some people are inspired by just the stick of weed. I'm giving you an example of substance that's affecting managers. Managers are running mad because their employees cannot read a line. And the employee is very brilliant, probably has a first class, but what the manager does not know is that this guy has just started using a new type of a green material or grass. And this material makes him skip a few words. And the manager thinks he's dealing with a normal human brain, but no, the guy is really battling to even keep steady with his life. What's the bigger point? Understanding of who the person is the first place. Quietly studying the person beyond the interview. Just stay around. There's a new hiring model I encourage recruiters to have, which is have a lot of people in the recruitment bag and observe patterns before the day you would need them. Have a database and observe how they respond to solve for 6 months to 1 year, 2 years. For I say, hey, I got a job. I had an experience with a young man recently, and there was an opportunity to do some work with me. Very simple stuff for just 20,000 Nigerian naira. That's very small. It was an undergraduate. Now there is another opportunity that came. He did a lot of things. Very intelligent, first class material. It's trainable, right? It's teachable. And I tested him. He knows his stuff. Remarkable young man. But he has some very bad attitudes. He cannot apologize. He is arrogant. He's a chip on his shoulders. He really thinks his brilliance is that much in a world where you're just starting out. Look, my first degree is 20 something years ago. If nothing else, maybe I've learned how not to make mistakes. Maybe that's the only thing I've learned. Maybe that's the only thing for 20 something years I've learned, at least post that. But the guy has a behavioral pattern. He thinks that everything's about the intelligence he has, not knowing that people with native wisdom. Paulette was speaking the other time about. I mean, PhD holders could not have come back that way, Paulette. By the way, to that lady, PhD holders cannot give that response. But it's not. I won't write a post about being educated and having insights. There's a difference between you do books and you are able to answer things as they come in life. So there is no, if you not make a demarcation because somebody seems like they didn't have certain experience, you're joking. You're the one that will do. So let me go back to the issue. Beautifully, an opportunity came up recently that will make him make almost 1 million naira in a month. He came up on the list of people to be interviewed, and I told the recruiter that I'm sorry, I can't work with him. He has shown himself to be very unstable, and I gave him a long rope to pull, a deliberate, very long rope, because I wanted to see whether this was a weakness. I mean, I went back to him many times doing this kind of support. What is the problem? He just had an attitude around him. And today, he's probably out of that first degree. Now he's probably looking for a stable job. And I see his body language still. He's not learned. He's acting a certain way. Any interaction we have, I'm looking at, it's as if he's entitled. So the bigger point for me is observe the person. There are some things way before the day we need to hire each other. Number, because you're also hiring me. If I'm going to hire, you're also hiring me. I feel it's a privilege that you'll be working with me for a while. Number one. Are we both trainable? Are we a good fit for each other? Can we help each other? Number two, do you flip and get terribly angry? There's some no nos for me. You get totally in a rage and nobody can talk to you. These are signs of very bigger problems. There are some no bigger no's. You can't take a quiet feedback. You can't take a casual feedback. You're always hyper defensive on issues. And you don't understand something yet you don't ask questions. You make the mistake. People try to encourage you in a very positive way. So some people are not hireable. I'm sorry to say that. But for every unhireable person, I think there are 10 hireable people. And there are some people that once they get the first salary, they get very aggressive, boisterous, psychologically unmanageable. For me, I'll pry under the screen. Who is this guy? Is this person trainable? Is this person teachable? Do we have the capacity to work together in the short, the mid, and the longer term? How can I help this person? How can I Once I can't answer those questions clearly, we should not be around each other. It's a matter of time. Someone will run each other crazy. And there are people like that. I've seen employees who fought the MD, the CEO, and vice versa. This in Africa, not in the UK, of course. So there was a lot of beating. They beat each other out physically. It was a joke of the office for many months. I worked with the same CEO. He never had the opportunity to beat me up. I used to joke that because I was more younger, that if he comes near me, I'm going to give him the beating of his because he's Africa. How would you beat me? Excuse me, I'm not your son or daughter. But what's the bigger point? The bigger point is some people are trainable, some are not. Some people really want to be inspired, some don't want to be inspired. Some people just came for the money. So if you are there for the money, it's simple. So since that's the language of your motivation, and I'm talking about N in this case, I'm talking about another guy who I know whose language is money. So what do? I make sure that any brief I come into the room with, there's a lot of money. Then he's listening very calm. So what is this person's language, productivity language? What's their productivity code? Some people just like kind environment. I know people that personal development, they love the company to give them a lot of personal development opportunities. They can even work for free. So who is the person we're dealing with? And you as a leader must develop the skill to understand them and manage them in their productivity zones because you will be the P&L owner of their failure. Their failure is denominated in pound sterling or dollars or naira or whatever currency you're interacting with. You must get them to be productive. That's your assignment. So you can't pass this book. No CEO, no leader can pass this book. How do I make these people more productive? Is someone's question to answer. That includes, do they like to play? I met a young man who is very brilliant, and I'll stop after this one. Very brilliant young man, but he doesn't work during the day. He doesn't work during the day. He can't do anything from 8 to 6. He's just either playing music. But once the sun goes down at 7 p.m., he's a rock star. And so I was consulting for the company and they wanted to fire him. I said, no, I don't agree. I said, it's probably your most productive staff because, I work in, there's something called life design or architecture. If I meet you, I even hear your voice, I can say a lot about you and your productivity very quickly because I've done that for many years in psychology. And I told him, I said, give him his assignments in the evenings, send it to him by email. He's a creative soul. Give him till morning. I was at the end of the year party, 12 months, December of that year. He got the Staff of the Year award. His job single-handedly, his own briefs single-handedly brought in 80% of the firm's productivity. Now they were thinking of making him creative director from about to fire. All because his meridian is around the sun. Once the sun is up, he's totally a nervous wreck. So there are people who are like that. So if they are totally out of our zone of motivation, meaning we only work during the day because we have teams that we work with, then we should leave him. Then we should let him go, and we are not a good fit for each other. But if it is that we can manage him, look at the kind of fortunes he made for the company. So at the end of the day, it's about from the recruitment process all the way, because you're going to pay for that error in recruitment. What's your recruitment model? How do you recruit people? How do you move? How do you motivate them? How do you ensure they stay motivated? What kind of environment are they looking for? And again, we must realize that for the first time, sorry, I said that was the last one. This is the last point, really. For the first time, we are managing multi-generations. Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen Alpha, Baby Boomer 1, Baby Boomer 2, Baby Boomer Phase 3. And for the first time, we are also now adding managing the planet. There's carbon emission in our operations as business owners. We are also managing dogs now and cats. The United States and the United States Army, military, Navy, all of those paraphernalia now manage dogs, cats, horses, reptiles, who are weapons of war. They have HR file now. The HR director is online. The HR director of the British Army, for example, was complaining that his dogs were grumpy. The dogs in his battalions were grumpy, and they needed to do a new plan for the dogs, a new HR plan. As an African, I was laughing at engagement plan for dogs. I was placing side by side with Africa, but that's what we are. We have CEOs are now managing dogs, cats, pests, in addition to human beings and the environment, and they will use AI. We are managing machines. Recently, I saw an article about the right machines. The need to manage the people we work with from an awareness standpoint, the skill of managing people by knowing and understanding them is getting heavier because we are managing much more variables than CEOs or leaders of yesterday. So much. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you. Sorry, no, I'm not muted. Excellent. No, look, great input, Coach. Again, I think it just expands the repertoire that we need to have this visionary mindset. We need to know how to manage people. We need to know how to inspire people. We need to know how to collaborate. This is someone with visionary mindset has to be able to do these things. Otherwise, your vision is not going to become a reality. Your bold idea is going to fall flat before it even gets there. And I love all the things you said, Coach. The complexities of humans is, it's difficult. It's challenging. Probably the hardest thing you're going to do in your business. Whatever you think you do, however hard it's been so far, when it comes to recruiting people, managing people, my friends, is a whole different problem. They're humans. Strange that. I'm glad they're not dogs, though. No. So anyway, Cyrus, let's hear from you, and then I'll.
Thank you, Coach David. I love hearing from you, Coach David.
Thank you.
But I have some serious questions for Cyrus since I don't drink wine, and I feel wine. I love vinegar, so I just think it belongs on salad. I honestly think, and so I'm trying to pair dishes that I love with wine, and when you don't understand wine, I'm like, well, I got a red and a white and a pink. It says.
Let's hear from him. Then you can ask him all your questions. Cyrus, the mic is yours, my friend.
Hi everyone. My name is Cyrus, and I am the CEO of Whisperboy and WindyJuno.com. It's a pleasure to be here. I've been listening to this beautiful discussion. I've learned a lot, and I thought it would be a good idea to contribute a little bit as well. So I listened to what Paulette was saying earlier. Yeah, I kind of agree with the point that she was making. You can't train people to become visionary. You can train them into leadership positions, but you can never make a visionary out of them. Vision is something you either have it or you don't really. And just to give you an example of what I mean, and just to make it a little bit clearer. So in terms of succeeding at leadership, it's like people who have visions, people who have clear visions, just like Annie said it rightly. People who have clear visions, it's like they are born into that position at the top of the ladder. Their job is not to fall down. Other people, the 99% who do not have visions, their job is to go up the ladder. So visionaries' job is to ensure they won't come down from the position they've got. Ordinary people who lack vision or lack long-term goals, Their job is to go up the ladder, become better, right? So ordinary people need to improve. Visionaries need to make sure that they won't lose quality. The qualities that have been instilled in them since birth. Okay, so they are the chosen ones. Chosen ones aren't mutants like the show in Ninja Turtles, right? So now, in terms of pursuing the goals, I've seen people who are doing it in solitude, like they're stuck in their own head. They have beautiful dreams, they have fantastic visions, but they don't know how to um, um, propagate those visions amongst human beings. So and that is one of the reasons why I believe if you want to get ahead, to get ahead, you need to get out of your head. So most of the stuff that is happening in most people's lives is what's happening inside their head. It never manifests because they don't create teams, because they don't find like-minded people. They are born, they live, and they die with those beautiful dreams, and those beautiful dreams never get propagated amongst human beings. So, and one of the things that I am doing in my organization is that I never look for people who are mini me. I'm trying to create the larger version of me, because what's the point of me trying if I'm trying to create something smaller than me? When I say smaller, I mean smaller in power and influence, right? Not size. So I always want to, and I always try to create people better than me. I don't feel threatened by people better than me. I am in this room because I'm surrounded by people better than me, people better than me and stronger than me. They make me feel safer. I am in the presence of people who know better than me. Obviously, they're going to help me. I'm going to receive help from them. If I'm the smartest person in the room, I am in the wrong room. So that is the reason why I always come to Annie's rooms, because everyone he invites to the stage is smarter than me, is better than me. That helps me improve myself. And that's all I wanted to contribute today. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You know,
That
and
was beautiful, Cyrus. That was just
true,
beautiful. Thank you.
truly, truly, Michelle, I agree with you. Thank you so much, Cyrus. So many gems you shared. Look, if I had to pick, I could pick in the whole lot out and then recite what you said. But my friends, watch the video. If you want to go join Team Replay, if you missed any of what Cyrus shared, if you want to hear it again. And I think finding like-minded people, Cyrus, that's part of the key. And again, when I mentioned Ann Davis, I told you she handpicked those who worked for her. She handpicked those who started the company in the first place, anyway. And we grew the company from, say, four of us to, of course, there were two of them one day, and then the time I got there, there was four of us into a 30+ staff, and to, I think 20-odd services that we ran. I'm saying you have to find like-minded people, and again, you need the clarity to know what they look like, to know what they sound like. And I don't know, I think your point also, Cyrus, that, I guess people have to be willing to work up if they're not, are there types? I'm sure there are, but I think if we're willing to be good followers, we end up becoming good leaders with with the mindset we're talking about, the visionary mindset. If we're not good followers, as Coach David explained so beautifully, some of the people he's come across, then it's very hard to become a good leader who inspires. If you can never be inspired yourself, how are you going to inspire others? That's a challenge, right? Coach, I'm with you when you say it's a cultural fit thing. Well, I think it's deeper than that, Coach. I really think it's deeper than that. I think the leader with the vision, the visionary mindset, it gives you an understanding into humans that you need. The way you described, you have to genuinely know people. You have to genuinely get into their heads. You have to know who can be inspired.
You need to
That's
genuinely make them, and you want to make them better than you. And that's my goal in life, just like Cyrus said. Invest in people to make them brighter and better than you, so that way you can just keep going on. We need that so much out there. And my gosh, if I can give that to someone and stand next to them and say, yes, be as smart as you can, I'm going to be smarter than you. I hope so.
it's a worry for all business leaders, for everyone who has to employ people, where the reality is you have to employ people who are nah, no, it's not nah, they are not you. And I'm not saying you are perfect. I'm saying you have your gift. If your gift is being the visionary, then so be it. I'm saying if your gift is my gift is implementing. I love doing. I've said this a good few times now. Given the choice, I would employ a general manager to manage me in my business, because I know I'll be the best employee they've ever met. And I do that for all day. Anyone's ever employed me, I've worked like a dog because I buy into the mission. I choose to. I choose to fall in. I choose to want to, help them achieve their goals. At the same time, I achieve mine. I get paid more, and my life is happier, right? So we have to find those people and find what you like, which parts fits you, and then you can work out how you engage other people. As coach says, it's a psychocultural fit. In other words, there's psychology of man involved, of man and woman involved in this. Coach,
Yes.
you're wrong.
Um.
You're wrong. Take it from me. Let me show you. Let me show you why. Let's watch this video quick, and then I think Paulette is dying to speak. So let's watch this video. Then you see why I say things with such clarity, Coach. Right?
Okay.
Okay. Probably about 5 minutes, if that. If I play it all. No, it's not all. If I play now, what I want to play. So bear with me. Let's watch it. Right. YouTube. Yeah. Let's go to Simon. Let me go to my YouTube. Let me press play, and hopefully, if there's ads, don't blame me. Forgive me.
Simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done. That's how most sales is done. And that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do. We say how we're different or how we're better. And we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. What it proves to us is that people don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple, or a phone from Apple, or a DVR from Apple. But as I said before, Apple's just a computer company. There's nothing that distinguishes them structurally from any of their competitors. Their competitors are all equally qualified to make all of these products. In fact, they tried. A few years ago, Gateway came out with flat screen TVs. They're eminently qualified to make flat screen TVs. They've been making flat screen monitors for years. Nobody bought one.
So you're already using ChatGPT, and while that's awesome, there is one little problem. You're not making any money with it. And
And Dell came out with MP3 players and PDAs. And they make great quality products, and they can make perfectly well-designed products, and nobody bought one. In fact, talking about it now, we can't even imagine buying an MP3 player from Dell. Why would you buy an MP3 player from a computer company? But we do it every day. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. The goal is not to do business with everybody who needs what you have. The goal is to do business with people who believe what you believe. Here's the best part. None of what I'm telling you is my opinion. It's all grounded in the tenets of biology, not psychology, biology. If you look at a cross-section of the human brain, looking from the top down, what you see is the human brain is actually broken into three major components that correlate perfectly with the golden circle. Our newest brain, our Homo sapien brain, our neocortex, corresponds with the what level. The neocortex is responsible for all of our rational and analytical thought and language. The middle two sections make up our limbic brains, and our limbic brains are responsible for all of our feelings, like trust and loyalty. It's also responsible for all human behavior, all decision-making, and it has no capacity for language. In other words, when we communicate from the outside in, yes, people can understand vast amounts of complicated information like features and benefits and facts and figures. It just doesn't drive behavior. When we communicate from the inside out, we're talking directly to the part of the brain that controls behavior, and then we allow people to rationalize it with the tangible things we say and do. This is where gut decisions come from. You know, sometimes you can give somebody all the facts and your figures and they say, I know what all the facts and details say, but it just doesn't feel right. Why would we use that verb? It doesn't feel right, because the part of the brain that controls decision-making doesn't control language. And the best we can muster up is, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right. Or sometimes you say you're leading with your heart or you're leading with your soul. Well, I hate to break it to you, those aren't other body parts controlling your behavior. It's all happening here in your limbic brain, the part of the brain that controls decision-making and not language. But if you don't know why you do what you do, and people respond to why you do what you do, then how will you ever get people to vote for you or buy something from you, or more importantly, be loyal and want to be a part of what it is that you do? Again, the goal is not just to sell people who need what you have. The goal is to sell to people who believe what you believe. The goal is not just to hire people who need a job. It's to hire people who believe what you believe. I always say that, you know, there's if you hire people just because they can do a job, they'll work for your money. But if you hire people who believe what you believe, they work for you with blood and sweat and tears. And nowhere else is there a better example of this than with the Wright brothers. Most people.
So I could carry on to the end, but I'm sure you get the idea, right? We are genetically programmed to respond to whys and to respond to, you know, the inspiring bit. You know, I can't say that enough. This is why I've been banging on about the inspiring bit. We're here to inspire. We're here to, you know, having that clarity of why is what the vision mindset is all about. And the other things we discussed. Paulette, you just suddenly turn your camera off. Go on, Paulette, talk to us.
Had the button on the wrong place. I do apologize. So, right, why do I do the children's mental or children's anxieties room? Why do I do the Monday Mental Wellness Cafe? Why? I'm not looking for clients. I don't want to be paid. I don't want people to come towards me as a therapist, because I make it very clear that's not what I am, and I'm certainly not certified in the States, although I would be in the UK if I wanted to be, but I don't. I'm retired, but I help people when I feel my heart says I must. But my why is my books. The reason I wrote the books is because I couldn't reach enough children. So my whole being is about getting a message to the children that we've got them, that we have got them, right? Walter is your person. Walter is your actual inner, it's your conscious thinking, but it doesn't matter for a child. It's a voice, it's a name, and it's okay to talk to it. And it gives a child, from the inside out, it gives the child the confidence it needs to be able to live in the real world. Now, when I worked on my Jack and Walter books, everyone was like, "Whoa, do you not think this is too advanced psychology for children? Do you not think this is too advanced in the way that Jack and Walter, you're thinking it's the same person? And is that not a bit complicated?" And I'm like, children learn to talk to themselves from a very early age. You see them on the floor playing with cars, 3 years old, and the cars are going crash and bang around. Ooh. Children learn to talk to themselves from, I think, from a very, very young age. And so therefore, to know you're not alone is the most important thing in the world. And to a kid who's been in care, as Annie and I can explain, there is nothing more important than knowing you're not alone. And so to get these books out is the sole reason I'm even on LinkedIn. I didn't come to LinkedIn to be a person who comes on stage and talks to people. I came on here with a why. My why was to get people to understand why I'd written a book that was so strange to some people and yet made perfect sense to others. And so for me, what he says makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense to me. But
Indeed,
that's,
indeed.
do you understand what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that is kind of why that educating people the reverse engineered way, to me, makes perfect sense, because I didn't go with what does the world need. I went with there's not enough of me to go around. I
Yeah.
can't be in everybody's lounge, in everybody's home, and I can't look after the world's children.
Yeah. No,
But I can
your why is clear. I think, but I think you are the epitome of my conversation today, Paulette. The visionary mindset, where when you're very clear about that why, it guides everything else, and things fall in place amazingly. I'll come back to that in a second. So, Crystal, thank you for joining us. How are you doing? I know you have busy days, so I appreciate seeing you. Especially glad you're here. Now, Daniel, I think you're dead right. So hire people that are experts at what they know and what they do and know more than you know on the topic. Yes, no. So I'm not a great numbers person, but I should employ more numbers people. But I think we have the tendency, Daniel, to employ people who fit with us, people we like, people we think we're gonna like. And again, look, recruitment is the biggest mistake ever. Ever. I can't say that. Now, if you're going to recruit people, just the exercise of interviewing people, looking at CVs, interviewing people, people lie. You're not going to know who they are, and only after you employ them, do you realize you've made a big boo boo. Really, I'm saying let's bear that in mind. It's a real problem. It's a huge reality for those who try and create bold ideas, right? So Paulette, what you've done is find people like you. That's what you've been. That's your greatest success. Not many know that Paulette had a publisher before we met. Probably two. They didn't care about your big Jack and Ward. They didn't care about what you're doing. They just they were publishing your books and you were paying good money, right? I'm saying you have to find those who genuinely care. When you do, it makes your mission easier on the one level, but no, on many levels. But deep down, those who get it, they will go the extra mile with you. Which is why, when me and Coach were talking this morning, Coach's like, "Oh, I've got this dilemma." I'm like, "Oh, buy Paulette's books." I would. Why not? I'll say that's the sort of loyalty that we crave as people who achieve our bold ideas. And you need an army who will march through the brick wall for you, literally. And that is not an easy thing to get in today's society, my friends. It's just not. I wish it was, but it's hard than people realize. So Michelle, Coach Selena, I'd love to know your thoughts on the video. Do you see why I said it's not a psychology thing? It's a biology thing. It's the way we're wired.
I agree. I agree. By the way, the psychology and biology are not separate. So the mind,
I agree.
the mind and the body are one. And I agree with the Y model. The Y model works far better. As a trainer, I've seen people look. Is the root of neuro linguistic programming. It's the root of a lot of bodies of knowledge, and I agree. All I'm saying is, at recruitment, use all the elements of your why to sieve through whether can this person work with my why. Test for, can this person work with my why? A lot of recruitment models are based on what's and how's. What we do and our processes. Can you do the job? These are the list of items to do. But can this person work with my why? For example, and this is not to flatter you, Annie's why I can work with. Paulette's why I can work with. Michelle's why I can work with. Selena's why. Cyrus's why. Why is how we literally connect with people at the base. Why is how a company will offer us higher salary and you won't jump the ship. So if there's an incompatible why at the base of the conversation, so some people cannot work with your why. A visionary must know and accept the fact that some people are unmotivatable, untrainable, unteachable. They are not with you on the long run because your whys are incompatible. We're saying the same thing, though we've gone it's a slice deeper. We're going deeper into the why isn't the person compatible, because our why cannot wire itself together. There's no correlation. There are people, for example, who must drink. Michelle mentioned about her call the other time. There's some people who must drink, but the question is not drinking. Why are you drinking? So when we remove the drink and it's just the deliverables on the table, can you still deliver, or we have to give you alcohol all the time? And this is not to Michelle at all. This is to anyone at all. I once worked with a young man. At 10 o'clock in the morning, he's a deputy creative director. He's drunk.
Oh my gosh.
But you know what? When it comes to creativity, his brain just comes back to normal. When he has a deliverable, he will just come back to the room. It's as if he went away from his body at other times. But once you mention a problem, a creative problem, you say, where's the brief? From the time you give him the brief in his hand, another person comes up alive. Every sip he takes after that, just leave him. He's going to deliver. Because there's a why. There's something going on inside his soul. The habit is just the surface. So let's test for the why. And I agree with that. But some people will not work.
I love that example, Coach. I mean, how many of us will be willing to give that person a chance?
Because you'll be afraid.
I ask that because I'm trigger happy. Selena, of course, I'm going to come to you next, my friend. I'm trigger happy. I sack them because I see an incongruence, misalignment with my why, with my, whatever it's I'm trying to do, right? If they don't love my customers the way I do, I fire them. Literally, if they don't have manners when I walk in the room, I fire them. They don't work hard enough, I fire them. They don't deliver, I'm saying there's many different reasons. You mentioned the one that the nocturnal person, the nighttime worker. That's me. I can still manage my staff, thank goodness, my team, at night, because I'd rather spend all night with you on the phone than spend the day with you, because I want to work better at night. And it's a realization, coach. It's a realization. Selena, I wonder what your thoughts are on the topic. You're muted. Okay, you're right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard, to say, but sometimes, like this girl who has been helping me for some time, she was just learning as much as I was learning to go on social media and fish and do things. So the other day I just had a chat with her and say, no, we need to change the strategy, because this way we are not going anywhere. And because it's my business, but she's there to support me, and she's willing to learn. But I didn't know what to teach her, because when I spoke to her, oh, I can do that, I can do that. Like somebody was saying about you can't look at your CV and say, okay, that's all the person knows because from the CV. So sometimes, you have to give the other person a chance, like, okay, let's try. Let's see if this person can deliver. But my challenge was only that, okay, after how long do I see, like you're saying, okay, I fire them. After working with them for how long? So that you can say, okay, this person is wasting my time. Because of also you have created that relationship, that bond between you, that trust. Yes, I know we don't eat trust. We have to have something. But now it's like, okay, after working how long? I really, it's a myth to me, because maybe I get so much involved in my heart instead of, getting more things, because I just feel, okay. I went to Africa, my sister was saying I got a taxi and the roads are horrible. So I ended up paying the person more than I should have. Then my sister was saying, come on, you can't be paying everybody more just because you feel sorry for their cars. But when I look at the distance was so long. And I just thought, okay, I can't that's not fair to give them what they deserve. So how do I deal with that? Thank you.
It's a challenge. Look, I know I'm not the best at all. I'm a psychologist. I've done a recruitment thing, so I know I get all that. I'm a HR person by education. I got masters business psychology. Right, I get it. The problem, I think, to answer your question directly, Selena, I have 5 people within an hour of them working for me. Literally, if I smell rat, you're gone. And some have lasted a week. I'm like, you've done well to last a week, because and I was thinking of firing you on day one. And those who last longer, I knew I was going to fire them as soon as they walk through the door. Because I know there's. I think we should talk about this
There's a
recruitment
principle.
challenge in good
Sorry,
time.
there's a
Talk about it again.
principle. There's a principle. Sorry, I cut into you just to supply that 30 seconds input. There's a principle in HR. Whatever you do, you will do again and again and again and again. And the first few weeks or months are probably your best from an attitudinal standpoint. HR says it's safer and better to hire quickly and fire quickly, so that the emotional energy or investment will not cost you more money you're paying every month for non-productivity. And not helping the person. Difficult, but that's what it is.
I couldn't agree more, Coach. I agree with you. I think if they're wrong, they're wrong. But and we know deep down
You're
that they are.
making people sound like sewer rats. These are human beings. These are not sewer rats, guys. You're not. Listen, the rules are the rules. You've got the first month in the law, first 3 months in the UK, but 1 month generally that is across the world to work out whether somebody is going to do the job right or wrong for you. In that month,
the
if
trial
you're a
period.
woman, a trial period. If you're a woman and you're the boss and you've got a nurturing nature, and I can already tell Selena has, you're a nurturing kind of
I
person,
haven't.
the same
I
as
haven't.
me.
I haven't.
Annie, you've got your nurturing in your big toe, right? So Annie's nurturing is in his big toe. We have our nurturing in our hearts, okay? So we will be by nature more likely to give that person chance after chance after chance. Now, at the end of the day, we still might end up having to say goodbye, but we will say goodbye knowing that we gave them every single opportunity. Annie says he can smell a rat within an hour or two, and they're gone by lunchtime, right? Now, I'm saying that Annie's not giving them enough of a chance to find out if they're a sewer rat, because that's how he's treating them. I personally believe,
I admit.
yes, you've got a wonderful nature, a lovely heart, but you put on this facade that you're an absolute a-hole when it comes to being a boss. And
I am. No, I really am.
I'm telling it how it is.
I really am. I really
You
am.
always do it, right? And the thing is, I would imagine people would go, "Hey, any songs looking for a helper?" No, thanks. Have you seen how he treats the staff? You don't get longer than a day and you're out the door, right?
I'm glad
But the
you
point is,
accept that. I'm glad you accept that, Paulette.
100% accept it. But if you found somebody who was good, if you found somebody who was right by your side, and we've been as close as employees as we could be, all right, and you haven't sacked me yet, and I haven't sacked you yet, right?
No.
Because
And
ultimately,
we do sack customers. We do
we're
sack customers.
friends, and we sack each other all the time in a fun way. But the point is, and your emotions when you're talking to me have moved up from your big toe, and we're probably about your left knee. But the point is, there is still a relationship with your left knee. I feel like I've managed to get to his left knee. Selena, to get to his heart is a long
doing
way.
much better than that. You know, you are in my heart, Paulette. You know,
Am I?
I don't let many get that
I'm
far
going to record
because
this and play it back.
you are. No,
I'm
you
gonna
really
have
are.
this
No,
as
you
my
know, you all
ringtone.
are. No, you all are. No, so you know, you, Selena, Michelle, Coach. You know, so because I work with all of you. I know if I don't like you, I
Right.
will fire you.
So therefore, what you're saying is that you give people a chance, and if people are, if they meet you where you need them to meet you, then it works, right?
Yes.
And that's where I couldn't agree more, right? And what I find for me is when I was employing people, I wasn't looking for me. I don't want another me. I want people who are great at being them. And they can come on board and they can bring their ideas, their excitement and enthusiasm to our project, and we'll grow together, right? That's how I see it.
I can understand. I totally understand that, you know, and I think you know you're a better boss than me, Michelle. I'll come to you in a second. You're a better boss. You know, look, I've had a couple of people who've lasted years. You know, maybe that's why. That's partly my. I'm more sensitive to those who are not like them. Maybe, Paulette, because and then that's when I say you're not even close and. Whether I'm going to sack you today or next year, I'm going to sack you anyway, whether you like it or not, because you know, and they'll be like,
sack you today.
I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm like, you can't. Sorry. And then when the time comes, I sack them anyway, right? I'd rather do that sooner rather than later, because I think I'm very wary of opportunity costs. Me keeping this person around can cost me customers and cost me happy customers, and you know that's what drives me. That's the only thing I think about. And I'm obsessed with customers. My clients who I like, must get everything. If someone's not willing to do that, then that's me. That's Any's vision for how business should run. Give your customers everything they want, and then that's why we exist. After all, that's the why we're here. Yes, I create the manuals, Paulette. I create the handbooks. I create the instruction book. I create the coaching sessions. But still, many people fall short. I guess I'm just not willing to write everyone off because we are faced with this dilemma. We must employ people. We must. We can't
Yeah.
we can't do it by ourselves. I'm getting better with age, I'll say. And this is a lesson for it. I'm just being honest with everyone. I'm saying this, we have to learn how to manage people, how to inspire people. That's the point. Yes, there are people who are wrong, but deep down, it's not on them that we haven't inspired them. Maybe coach is right on many levels, and that some people are uninspirable. But then like he said, for every one person that's the wrong one, there's 10 that could be the right ones. So we just got to keep trying to build that team. And sometimes, my friends, it's not a recruitment process we need to go through. I think that's another point I want to make. What we need to do is get to feel people out. And when you find the right ones, push the boat out. When you find the right ones who believe in what you believe, then do what it takes to get them. Do what it takes to keep them. Do what it takes to get them to work and deliver. That's the game we're in to try to achieve our bold idea. That's the game, hook, line, and sinker there, right? This is part of the visionary mindset that we must have to get to that bold idea. Michelle, please, I'll give you the mic.
Like you tell me, you're going to push me until I abandon the project, and then you'll just find someone else. And what have I told you? I don't quit any. Oh, how would I not be? What? No. Now okay, watch this.
I'll take that, Michelle. I mean, but look around you, the people that you know.
And I love it. But
so many are half-hearted, right? So many are half-hearted. When I name that, Paula and I use different, and Coach, we probably use different words than hearted. I'm saying, but they are half-baked. They're half interested. That's not good enough, right?
Yeah, and that's what's hard for me is you find a lot of people that are half-hearted. It's like they want their 15 minutes of fame. And fine, you can have your 15 minutes of fame, but keep going with that fame. There's nothing wrong with the fame if you want that fame. I'm autistic and ADD. I want everyone to know about it. That doesn't mean I want my 15 minutes of fame. It means I'll keep going for days and days and days so I can just be heard. It's not being malicious or anything. And how you always present, and you've honestly only that one time when I can't even remember what I said, and you told me straight up, I will constantly push you, Michelle, for your broad, beautiful ideas, or until you abandon the project and you won't talk to me anymore. Either way, we'll get it out. And I was like, thank you. But see, you figured out what made me click, and you knew my passion was everybody getting an education, since I didn't get to. And you didn't use it against me. What you did was you showed me. And there's a difference between showing someone and giving them the, oh yes, I can, Annie, watch me now. And then, or you can do it the wrong way and be like, oh, well, he says I'm going to abandon it anyway, so watch this. I'm just going to abandon it and click. And you can always block people, and there are a lot of people like that I have found out.
Yeah.
And so I guess it's honestly to you, since you are the leader, to build your team and to see what works best, and to see who's, I hate to say this because I'm not a man, but like the gusto, the balls, to go all the way, and you build them to make them better than you. You've never molded me to be beneath you or beside you. You have never told me not to speak. You're all, what is your bright idea, superstar? And you let me talk. Now that's a leader. It doesn't mean you let me do everything I want, but it does mean that you listen and you're like, oh, you know what? That's a pretty good idea. And you just got to find those leaders and be willing to work with them and to learn. And that's one huge thing I've noticed with people is when they do have an alphabet letter on the back end of their last names, they're better than you. And it's just like, what, you don't have a kid with autism. What makes you, why are you telling me these things when that's not actually how I feel? Well, no, that's the way you feel because that's what it says in the book when I went to college. And you have to be like me. And with you, it's like, no, I want you to be better than me because I need that bright idea to save the world. And that's beautiful. And that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Well said, Michelle. Paulette, your hand is on the unmute button. I can see it from here.
I'm hovering. Because I love everything Michelle just said, and I also think that there is an element of, I've always had balls. I believe I was born with balls. And so there is no man who is better or greater than I. But there also is no woman that's better or greater than I, or I better than them. So therefore, providing you start from that position of you're not trying to outwit or pull people down or to try and stand on somebody, because if you're trying to do that, then, life should be about honesty, authenticity, kindness, the moral upbringing that we all had, the ethics we all had should be brought into the workplace. And when they are brought into the workplace, we have far better outcomes. I can say to you with all my heart, when I go into a company as a consultant, they are scared pooless of me. I should think none of them slept the night before, and they were all expecting a hatchet woman to come in, carve their company up and sell it off. Sack half of them at least. That's what they were told. That's what the rumor mill would have told. And before you know where you are, I'm walking into the most difficult, angry, horrid environment you could imagine. And I say to them when I sit down, okay, I'm the problem director. And they look at me, they go, sorry. I said, I've been appointed as the problem director. And I said, have you never had one of them before? And they'll look like, no. And I'm like, well, that's my job. I'm the problem director. Every problem in this company comes through me. And there's only one thing I ask, and that is this. When I say how many are there, you tell me the truth. Don't tell me about how many there are in the warehouse. Don't tell me about how many there are in retail. Tell me about how many are coming over on the sea, coming over in boats, or widgets are over in China waiting to be made. I want the truth. If you give me the truth, we're going to have a great relationship. You lie to me, you're sacked. It's as simple as that. Authenticity and telling the truth are not the same thing. Being your authentic self, it could be protecting your job against all odds, right? And that includes lying. So I say this, being authentic is different from not telling lies. Okay. So Jay and I used to laugh about this all the time. We said authenticity is so important. And we all say authenticity is so important. Then we go away and lie through our teeth. So the point is, authenticity is only important when it's actually in process of being real. Not telling lies, telling the truth, being completely honest could save your job and all your colleagues' jobs and your business. If you all lie to me, we're going to shut it down, right? So the point I'm making is that when you talk about the types of people, even going in at that level, Annie, I don't know these people from Adam. I've probably been given a synopsis on each person by the HR director of who does what and what their job role is, right? So when I sit around the boardroom table, I'm not looking blindly at everybody, right? All they know is the hatchet woman's coming in. And I can honestly tell you that I've walked away with Swarovski crystals that are in my unit upstairs, as big as you like, because they've all contributed, and they don't want me to leave after 3 months because we've turned the business around. We sorted out the problems. We worked our way through it together, sometimes to 11 o'clock at night, all of us. But if I'm there at 11, then so they are, because I'm there for them ultimately. And that is what I call management. It's when they want to work alongside you because they see the purpose. You know, you talk about having it's not a fixation because that makes it sound too much, but it's almost a fixation. We want to fix the company. So in order to fix the company, this is what's required. Are we all in? No?
As good as it's as good as an obsession, Paulette. A proper obsession. It's all you think about. It's all you exist to solve. That's what leadership looks like, or that's what having this visionary mindset comes to. Look, Paulette just dropped a few more things that we need to have as part of our visionary mindset, right? It is about authenticity is such a horrible word. Honesty with solutions is what, as a leader, you want to be honest with your team, with your friends, with your partners, with your stakeholders, whilst giving them a vision of how we're going to get to the future. Yes, this is a problem now. I understand. Yes, we need money, but no, we have. I've got this. I've got this under control. There's a plan, as where we started off with Michelle earlier on, right? There's a plan to fix this. Collectively, we'll fix it for sure. No, so of course, I think talk about walking beside you as well, Paulette. I think I want to leave this today on this issue of role modeling.
Ooh.
Does the visionary leader have to role model what they're preaching? I mean, can you have a bad leader, a leader who's visionary, in fact, now who achieves what the bold idea, whilst being sometime-ish? How important is role modeling for the others? Is a question I'm asking all of you. So if I give you a minute each,
you have to do it
quickly, then we can go. Please go on, Michelle.
You have to do that 100%. If people don't see that you're doing it, why should they? I mean, honestly, that's like saying, hey, exercise. But who was that lady? Oh my gosh. She was the one that was telling that she was the workout guru, and supposedly she didn't eat meat and everything. And then they caught her in a motel room with like half a pound of ham, eating it, and she said that she just never wanted to get caught, so she would get a motel room and bring pork there. And it was a really weird, it was a weird thing because it's like everyone really hated her afterwards, which is kind of understandable if you're preaching, don't do this, work out, don't eat pork and everything. But every day she's got this motel room for 2 hours that she takes a leg of ham in there and starts munching down on it.
Like that, we have to like that, Michelle. I mean, that's extreme. Go on, Michelle.
Honestly, it's true. I can't sit here and say, you guys, mental health and everything, as I'm running around screaming outside naked, running through the bushes. I mean, wouldn't that look a little different? Like, yeah, she's really practicing what she preaches. She's a little off.
Yeah, we must practice what we preach. I mean, look, I think no leader is perfect. This is a thing, and we're not going to be perfect either.
No.
But even with, I think, with all our flaws, and there's enough places for us to have flaws. We'll mention recruitment, management, leadership, resource management. I could carry on recruitment. I could carry on. There's so many things that we could get wrong.
Oh,
But the
yeah.
thing you must live that vision that you have. You must live that solution. You must at all times. That's my
Oh,
take anyway. Coach, I wonder what if you have a different idea. Paulette, you got a different idea, or are you agreeing about the importance of role modeling?
I totally agree. Everything you said.
Yeah, man, you must. Coach, what's your take?
Well, again, there's a lot of psychology research. If you see animals, you see donkeys, you see cows moving together, they follow the leading sheep or the leading, in every herd, there's a leading psychological marker, and they all follow. Um, it's not about experiments. People don't do what you say or you tell them, they do what they see you do. If you want people to start coming early to work as a CEO, start coming to work early. Guess what? And then write your name and put the time in. If whatever you do, make sure they see you that you're coming early. Before you know it, they'll start first of all with eye service. I don't want the boss to know I'm coming late. And before you know it, becomes a behavioral pattern. There's no there's no maybe whatever you want to see model. Yeah.
Yeah, it's well said, Coach. I said there's nothing worse than us giving our teams or our partner, the rest of the people who are with us some leeway. Selena, I wonder what your take is on role modeling. So I didn't see you back until I just looked at my screen. You're still on mute. Okay, you finish coughing and then you can press on mute.
We'll explain to them.
Oh, go on, Selena. I just unmuted you.
But my
Right. So on role modeling, so do we need to be good role models for everyone else that we're working with? If we have a visionary mindset.
Yeah, I mean, I think a visionary mindset is just let's go. Whatever you visualize, because even the Bible says, "My people perish because they don't have any vision." So it means it's really something which is very important from the old time, and it's still like the in thing. Because if you don't visualize, what else can you do? You are just walking blindly. So we need visionaries, and we need many of them, and those who lead from the heart.
I lead from the heart. I think I do anyway, and I really do. Of course, I do.
I'm not saying you don't, darling. I didn't say that. I know you do. I mean, you could.
I wouldn't have got this far otherwise.
I know you wouldn't. No. I'm just saying.
No one gets very far.
People just need to be, sometimes you find people, like I think you are better. Sometimes people just hire to fire, just to just gives them a feeling of importance. That okay, I can hire and fire. I mean, brag about it, but otherwise, just some people they hire and they are mentors and they're teachers, they're educators. So if you are an educator, if you are a mentor, I always take myself like a Naomi. So Naomi could have, been angry with Ruth, could have done a lot, to say, I don't want, stay away, you're not my child, you're my daughter-in-law. But she was patient with her, and Ruth was patient to learn. All the tricks Ruth did, she got them from Naomi. It's like, okay. So I always calm myself and say, okay, I'm in Naomi. This is my daughter-in-law. Yes, we are not related. We don't worship the same God. But she said she wants to learn. So what can I teach her? What do I have in my bag to give to her? If she is bound to listen. I went to my daughter-in-law's house a few weeks ago. And she had, in the bathroom, she had about 7 undies hanging And so I said, oh, all of us, when we go, use the same toilet, the same bathroom. So I just prayed about it and I just said, okay, I need to be a Naomi here. How can I be a Naomi who is going to build this girl so that she doesn't get hurt? So I said, I'm sorry, my daughter. Can I say something to you? And she says, okay, mom. She didn't see it coming. Then I said, okay, do you want me to guess which pant you are wearing today? Because, if you put your pants there, I'll know you've got a yellow, blue, pink, red, and white, whatever. That's between you and your husband. That's your private.
You deserve an award. You are a hero. You're a superhero. Thank you for that. Thank you for that wisdom.
Yeah.
As an African mother-in-law, that can be the end of that relationship. Thank you for that. That's big.
Then she says, oh, I know. I mean, a lot of people don't come here. I said, no. A friend of your husband just phoned and he was around the corner and says, oh, I'm coming. He comes, he wants to use the toilet. You go and use the same toilet. I am your mother-in-law. I come here every time I see your parents. That's between you and your husband. Don't publicize it. Let us in the dark. But if it's your excitement, your husband's excitement that you're wearing red today, you're wearing this, not me. I don't want to know. I'm sorry, Mwanangu, to just tell you this, but I thought, I would help you. Whether she have removed them now or not, I don't know. I have just said no, because I love you, because I want to build you. I will just have to say it. So I mean, you might find a coach who can say, yes, I want to, to teach this person, what I know. And I'm not going to think about the mistakes he's making. I want to see him excel.
Yeah.
So what can I do? You sit down with him. You sit down again and again. Sir, can you see, son, or you see my friend? This is not how I want us to run this. I want us to run it because this is where you and me eat. So if we're not going to work for what feeds us, then we're not helping each other.
Yeah.
I want to give you the power to say, even if you walk away now, you know what you're doing. So, I mean, I think it's a great topic. Thank you so much
Thank you. As Coach says, it's a good example to give. For me, I tell you what my limitation is, and always has been, because I refuse to fix it because I'm too childish. My limitation is time. I love being late. In all my roles, all my jobs, I've always made a habit of being late. It's terrible when it's a physical event, a physical place we have to go to, because I'm going to be late. But I'm going to turn up ready to sing and dance. When I was lecturer, I used to get there. When it was just my class, I'm the tutor, so lecturer, so I had to be there on time. So, but I pushed it very close most of the time. I could be 2 minutes late. I'm saying that's probably the best the best I did, or the worst the worst I did. I had to go from Croydon to central London, and literally it's a drive, right? Yeah, but literally, so my bosses have never fired me for being late. Like you said, Selena, they sit you down, they try again and try again and try again. And I guess because I'm me, maybe the performance, maybe it's a belief, maybe it's my sense of mission.
You're special.
Thank you. They left me there and still doing what I do, despite my frailties, my limitations, what it is. So that's me.
Annie, can I just say that what Celine just said is so heartfelt, that there are very few people in this world, let alone a mother-in-law, who would say that to somebody. Because so many people would think, oh, it's not my business, or I shouldn't say anything, or whatever. But ultimately, all she thinks is, I need to get my pants dry. I'll hang them up in the bathroom. She hasn't thought about the next stage. And all you've done is said to her, there's one more stage after you hanging them up. And that is that we'll see them, right? She hadn't seen that next stage. And when I when I train people and talk to people, I always used to say to myself, if I can just show somebody the next stage, the next part of the journey, you've done so much to help them that they will appreciate you so much, they're ready for the next stage, right? So I
Yeah.
think that what you've done is you've actually cemented yourself as a trusted person in her life, and you will have made a far bigger impression on her than I think you realize. And I mean this in all sincerity. If you can just move somebody one step forward, okay, then that is a huge journey made. So what you did has stopped the embarrassment for your son, and it stopped you having to see it and anyone else, because she will be thinking all the time, somebody might be coming. So where else can I put them out of the way on a dryer somewhere? And hopefully that one step starts to another step to another step. So for me, that it's much bigger than you realize. So well done. I think that was wonderful.
No, I agree. No, thank you indeed, Selena. I think it's in our bold ideas achievement sense, it's coaching and also having what we call emotional mastery. It's self-regulation, being able to calm yourself down and think clearly. Again, emotional mastery. As I talked about recently, Paulette talked about the last
No,
week.
but Annie, the mother and the auntie had
Mm,
just been there the previous day.
mm,
So, it's like the negativity was just saying, but they saw it.
mm,
Who are you to say it? I just thought, okay, the auntie, but can I talk to the auntie or to talk to her? Which is better? Because in our culture, if you find anything with your daughter-in-law, you go to the auntie, you do this. And I thought, no, I'm her mom. If I can look at my own daughter and say, okay, I can tell you whatever I feel is not right, then why should I not do with her?
yeah,
But it
definitely.
was so difficult because I thought, oh, she's going to talk about
I think
it.
Loved you.
there was a comment earlier which I'm trying to bring up that says this is really this leadership, this mindset we're talking about is really about balance. It's finding the balance, right? Because the issues that we will address because it's part of what we think is our remit as the entrepreneurs, the creators, the bosses, call it what you like. I'm saying there are other issues that we'll see and then leave because much like you're saying, Selena, anyone could have talked about this. No one did. At least somebody did, thank goodness. Otherwise, you just carry on, right? I'm saying our business is the same. We have to learn how to choose the things that are important for us to talk about and work on. Coach, I want to give you the last word, my friend, because our time has come. I've kept you way too long, but thank you so much, everyone, for your amazing contributions. I love this. I love this conversation. Tracy, I see you as well. Glad you're here. Tracy's our audio book. No, she's an SEO expert at doing audiobooks. So she's the one that definitely we have to talk to. Cyrus does the technical side. Tracy does the technical side in
Gotta
terms
get
of.
a hold of Cyrus to learn about wine and
I
just not
was
colors.
I don't know. He spoke, didn't he? He spoke briefly. I don't know whether he had to go, but no, just connect with him and have a conversation with him, Michelle.
You know what? I always, honestly, I always forget until I saw the wine bottle. I was like, oh, because I do. I love to create different kind of dinners that make your mouth just go, oh my gosh, what was that? Was that an orgasm? And
I'll do you both a favor. I'll connect you on WhatsApp. That way you can get talking.
I apologize. I didn't mean to say that.
And it's quite swimming.
Out. Let's
Go on,
bleep
Coach. Coach,
out.
talk to us, Michelle. Let's leave. Coach,
yes,
talk to us.
yes. What Selena said is actually very touching, and I totally agree. I mean, that's a lot of emotional intelligence in gigahertz, and I dare say God bless you for that approach. The only thing is that discernment requires us to know who we are dealing with. Who is this person? In this case, your daughter-in-law did not want to fail. She doesn't want to have a bad marriage. She's a good woman. Like Paulette said, she's just as in thought through the other parts of the conversation, and then you empower her to have a better choice. There are people who are really planning to fail, who probably want to tank your business, who have malicious intent. You can't preach to a snake or intercede or pray for a snake. Say, dear snake, I love you. You cannot bite me in Jesus' name. No, you are beaten already. And that's discernment is one of the key factors we're going to need as leaders. That starts from awareness. Who is this person? Who are these people? How do we figure out who I should work with or not work with? Which leads me to Selena, your son has a good wife. What if this one is a lady who didn't even want to succeed in the first instance? She's going to start a whole battle on you, no matter how carefully and nicely you say it. I think who you recruit into the room is a pivotal question. That's my conclusion. And you must do all the care in the recruitment, because you will now have more stress and managing if you don't do it. And at the end of the day, you may still have to let the person go because of incompatibility. Do all you can while you can in the best way you can. However, make sure it is the right person. Otherwise, you may communicate with the why and communicate with the Almighty God and the infinitesimal planet and the infinity wisdom. Whatever you do, you still have to let the person go. So, discernment at the beginning will go a long way to save all of us the trauma. And as soon as you find out that you are wrong, maybe we should let the person go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Coach. Tracy, that was as good a summary. I'll help you out a bit, Tracy, because I like you, right? I think that the conversation basically started from the visionary mindset involves a leader having total clarity on the why. And then we have to learn to communicate that why to inspire others, to find people who believe in our cause as much as we do. Maybe not as much as we do, but at least who believe in our cause, right? And that's a start. All the other things that come with management we've talked about, but it is really inspiring people and the challenges that brings. They're saying, I'm sure you were here want to talk about role modeling. But like I always say to everyone, please watch the replay. Watch the replay. You can watch on my YouTube if you want, especially, and I'll love you even more. If you do, then do like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Now, everyone, thank you so much. You are gems. You really are. I was wondering what I was going to talk about, how this was going to go today, but you've made it all so beautiful. So I've learned a lot. And look, please don't leave here thinking any of us is perfect, apart from Paulette, who gets very close to perfection. I'm on a journey. And the reason I do these rooms partly is to learn. And so all the things we talked about today, the reason I'm banging on about my retention problem is because I want to fix it. Clearly, I want to build the right team, and I really do. So I'm always willing to learn from all of you in terms of how you've done it and what I can learn from you. But I thank you all. So I'm back here again in 2 weeks' time. Michelle, of course, I'll let you have the last word.
No, I just wanted to say thank you and bye.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you, bye. Thank you for everyone.
Bye, lovely. Excellent room.
Bye.
Well done.
Bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Every step forward is a new beat to your drum. Achieve success with Global.Media.com and celebrate it with or without champagne or rum. Achieve success with Global.Media.